Hello and welcome to this episode of the Kaleidoscope podcast. As you know, it's all about change if you've been following us at all. And my guest speaker today is Stephen Todd. And Stephen has had a varied life being in the fire brigade. And I'm not going to steal any of his stories because I don't know which story he's going to tell. And I would know Stephen um, through his wife. I'm friends with his wife, and through an organisation called Antrim Community Support Hub, which is a fabulous organisation in Antrim. And Stephen runs the men's group within the club. Isn't that right, Stephen?
That's correct.
And the men's group has a fabulous name. What's the name of the men's group?
Two sausage, two egg club.
Because they eat everywhere they go for no other reason than they eat everywhere they go. So, Stephen, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. For me, it was really important to have a meal for this podcast because this will be going out on International Men's Day. Yay, a chance to celebrate all the lovely men in our lives. During November, which is Movember, which is where's your moustache, Stephen? Where's your moustache? Um, a chance to talk about men's mental health and well-being. So the format, as we've discussed before, Stephen, the three questions I kind of ask, I like my guests to speak around is what was life like before the change? What was life like during the change? And what was life like after the change? And then none of us have a crystal ball, but what does the future hold? And I kind of hand it over to you to tell your story because I don't like to interrupt people's stories because all of us have a story, and it's just a chance for you to share whichever one of your stories you'd like to share with us. So I'm going to pass it over to you, and then I'll ask him other follow-up questions at the end.
Thank you, Valerie. I think just give a quick sentence where I am now, and I will finish with that as well. But at this moment in time, as you already alluded to, I basically help coordinate, control, whatever you want to describe it, just facilitate a group of guys. And I've been doing that just for over 2.5 years. So basically, if you talk about the change where I am now, the change is basically being part of the group, being part of a family, and where you've got a mixture of ages, abilities, beliefs, and ideas all coming together and gelling. So that's where I am now. How did I get here? Again, yes, a certain element of that is my own drive, my own determination to do something and be part of something. The other thing is too is the involvement of, I say, a group of men. The involvement to allow men to express themselves, to be supportive, and to basically come together in a safe place. And that's probably the outcome. And again, not to take anything for granted, that's where anybody wants to belong to. Whether you are whatever group you belong to, you just want to belong part of that group. You just want to be part of that family where you can basically interact, communicate, talk, and feel supported and basically feel valued. So, so for my own journey, it's like everything else. One of the key things I've always learned, if there's an opportunity there, don't be thinking too much about it. Sometimes you just need to grasp the opportunity,
Yeah.
grasp the basically that light, because it's so easy to turn around and say, well, I should have went there. But at the start, if you had to turn around and say, let's try it, and what's the worst you can get if you don't make it or it doesn't work out? At least you could turn around and have one satisfaction. Well, I tried. It wasn't for
Yeah.
me. So from my point of view, I would say I was lucky in one aspects because I've had a career most of my lives. So I have joined the fire service when I was 18 in the mid 70s.
Wow,
So
baby.
joined in the then it would be in the Northern Ireland Fire Brigade in the basically mid 70s, stationed basically as well as a lot of other firefighters in the centre of Belfast. I had the pleasure of serving there. Uh, it, Again, when you're 18, you got your other friends and colleagues are doing other jobs or going to university. I just had the opportunity to go that way. I was never academically talented, as I say. One thing I always had, I was a grafter. I didn't
Yeah.
mind getting my hands dirty. I didn't mind trying. And one basic trait I would always have had, if somebody tells me I can't do it, I'll do it. So again, the opportunity arose, and basically by accident. It was literally somebody said to me by a chance, by a relative says, try this. And basically in them days, there wasn't the same demand for jobs with reference to that profession. In the mid-70s, again, height of the trouble, the money wasn't the same, and the career prospects I didn't know anything about. So threw my name in the hat, and I was successful. So at various locations in Belfast city centre, been involved as a lot of other colleagues have served with, past and present. Seen a lot of atrocities through the troubles, a lot of places, and there would have been these type of atrocities. There would have been headlines in the day. There would have been
Yeah.
on the, as I said, the old Belfast Telegraph before the days of internet, and those new and old news headlines. So I was blessed from a point of view. I went through the service physically unscarred. From a point of view, I had a few what I call minor burnt ears, a few burns and scalds, and a few limbs broken by just falling over and things like that, and a few close escapes, as long as with the other colleagues. But I was blessed from a point of view. I was able to come through that. Has it left scars? Uh, yes, it has. It did leave scars from a point of view what you've seen and what you encountered, and no matter what, anybody coming through any type of conflicts. Now, if I was doing a comparison to other people have seen, I'd probably say no, mine's just something you turn around and say no. It was probably could have been minor compared to other occupations. And when you see the world as it is now, and the conflicts throughout the world, and again because a majority of my family was basically not affected to that large extent. But again, everybody's stories, everybody's is different stories, and how it impacts them physically, mentally, how it impacts their families, their relationships with their partners or with their family. So everybody is different, but everybody has a personal story. Uh, from my point of view, I would say it was one of them ones. Nothing was a groundbreaking as something like you turn a switch and it impacted me, because a lot of time, and it's like because you're part of a team, you seek support within a team. So there's always ones there encouraging you, because they're the ones and your colleagues and you wanted you with, that you actually be able to share with confidentiality there, and because you wanted to try and shield your family as much as possible. So you basically you enclose within yourself. You basically kept it in, which nowadays that's not the thing to do. Now it is to share, to talk, to be part. The one benefit then, because of a uniform service, you're actually part of a family. It says, sure, had your nuts and bolts like any other family. It says, you could take the names away, but the personalities remain throughout no matter where you go to. So, and the same thing applies to now, having the benefit to share and to be part of a group where you can laugh, cry, and share tales within a safe environment. So the same thing applies. So there's a common thread going through. Uh, and again, it's just as later on as the career and you start to have your own children and your own families, then you come and encounter atrocity still, but the impact changes slightly. Because when you're coming across what I call maybe family members, come across incidents, accidents, through fires, through car accidents, and other accidents within the workplace, then you start to look, because it starts to build up. It starts to basically, like the old kettle. It's basically you put the switch on, so you're warming the kettle, and eventually, at some occasions, the kettle does then boil. So if you're in a closed vessel, it does happen that way. So, and this is where you need that support, you need that mechanism, you need that family. When I say a family, yes, you need your loved ones around you, but you need that family of peers and people to share and say stuff that you mightn't be able to say in any other environment. So, again, but as you get older and longer doing a service, because I was blessed to do over 30 odd years within the fire service. But when you, the back of that, then you start to build up incidents. And there's the key things that always then will stick in your mind no matter what. Again, it's one of them ones, it's not just what you see, it's what you hear, it's what you smell. So it basically uses all these senses up. So when you get likes of that and you start having, I said previously there, of the impact on you basically seeing, especially children and young ones who are hurt or maimed at atrocities, then you start to look at that child or that person differently because you start to relate to your own. So again, it's just things change. It's just wee trigger factors. It could be a school uniform. It could be anything like that. But you start seeing that, and then you start basically relating to your own. You start then just reevaluating where you're going and how much you can take. So basically, that's how I went through it. Now, did I have the mental scars? Did I have the dreams? Did I have the thoughts? Did I have the smells and senses? Yeah, I did. So there was just come a stage, and there's always other circumstances come into that as well. There's just come a stage that decided, right, there was a time, and how much more do I want to take? How much more do I want to do? And where do I want to go with my direction? And one of the key things for me, I said, I've always said I will go and retire and do certain things at a certain time, but then something you have the opportunity, and with dealing with, say, as my own, what I call mental issues and my own concerns, I've always said one thing is that age is never a limit. Age is not a defining moment. It's not as if you reach a certain age of 50, then you're 55, then 60, and 65, and you turn around and says, well, I've got my bus pass now, so I'm not going to do any more. I think it's a case of if you have the energy, you have the strength, try it. Says if you have to slow down, which we all do naturally, then just adjust what you do. But one of the things for me is just don't give up. Just get up and go. And it's so easy just to sit in a darkened room, sit in a room with basically by yourself. And again, nobody can control certain circumstances around you, your relationships with your friends or your families, what happens with health wise. Nobody can control all of that. But what you can control is your own mind and your own heart. And if you can control your own mind and your own heart and try, and it's very hard, especially for men. It's very hard to reach out. It's very hard to say, ask for help. It's easier to take an easy option out, whether you're turning to addictions or whether you're going to basically just walk a narrow field yourself. Says, and don't make the effort to go to clubs, associations, or whatever, because not everybody is blessed with the financial resources to join a club. Not everybody has just that opportunity because maybe they don't fit in some way of life. But there's always a place for everybody. There is always the opportunity. And again, when people's got the strength, it doesn't take much to take a walk down the shops, even just to during the day, just to get a paper, or basically people who read papers now, but even just that wee benefit of going down and going out. So like sometimes you say, I'll go to the shop at 7 o'clock, I don't want to meet anybody. But if you go to the shop at 9 o'clock and you have the opportunity to talk to somebody, says, and I'm not preaching as such, but you've got natural places in your local area, you've got community centres, you've got churches, and again, with different groups, activities within a church environment, you have other locations, like again, for example, the Antrim Community Support Hub. And again, people then, because the communication is so much easier there from a point of view, it's on the internet, you go to your local library, pick up the leaflets, look at the posters, look at the walls, listen to people and talk. You have the opportunity to join the groups. But again, it's not easy. I'm not saying that you can turn a page and say, right, I'm there. You will have to go through. There's certain times you just have to go, and it's reaching out. It's knowing when to do it or how to do it or listening to somebody. Again, nobody likes to be told what to do half the times. People say, I know better. Yeah, sometimes maybe we do, but a lot of times we don't. And I think it's important that we just take the opportunity to try it. Again, the I still have occurring dreams about previous stuff I've seen. I still have worries for my own family, knowing that young ones have been in car accidents and family members have been in car accidents. I've been involved in uh, an instance where my own children were in a car accident and I was there. So attending professionally, but not knowing. So there's other ones have done the same, and there's a lot of stories out there of other ones attending. And I again, I my end result was good. My end result was from a point of view of the immediate family was they were safe. My children were safe, so there was no serious injuries as such. The other ones aren't so lucky. Uh, but again, there's other ones, children's friends and things like that, going to their instance and not being the same result, and it's heartbreaking. It's literally
Yeah.
heartbreaking, and there's no words to describe it. But again, it's that impact does build up, and it's if you relate that to anything else, whether now it's all different level. But if you lose your job, and it's that old, it is a male stereotype. It is because we are that way. We've been brought up, especially our generations. It's the way that there is a difference. We are basically have this classification of breadwinners.
Mm.
Says, and when you're basically then coming into the thing of being the demands is just growing and growing, and the expectations, the what you can deliver doesn't meet the expectations.
Mm.
Things start to boil. Says things start to cave in, uh, and again, it's just getting back. But it's easy for me saying words, uh, but it doesn't just go like that. Everybody has a wee trigger factor. Everybody has that switch at some stage. Some people can absorb more, and some people just it just doesn't happen, and they boil over very quickly. And all I can say is just keep going. Try to, and the most important is reach out because you can't. Sometimes you just can't do it on your own. So there's some occasions you just need, whether it's a what I call the old man hug, whether you just need a walk with somebody, whether you just need to just walk and vent and just go around the corner and yell and scream. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not a prescriptive measure. There's prescriptive a script you have to follow. Everything we have to see, look at it. It's all guidance. It's all directions. People are offering you advice, but sometimes you just want to yell. You just want to shout out. Well, do it. Yeah, just shout out. It's like hitting your hand with a hammer and turn around and says, no matter what background, you try and hold your tongue when you hit your hand with your own hammer. Says
Absolutely.
you will yell. So let it go.
Yeah.
Says have a cry. Says I haven't cried so much since I hit 50 than before that because it was always hold your emotions. It's not what you do. You keep your act together. You basically you be that person. Be a man. This is the whole thing. Be a man. Says, and it doesn't work sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need a ball. Sometimes you need a hug. Sometimes you just need to sit in a room on a quiet. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. Just sitting there, the TV off, and reflect. But again, it's knowing when that's enough. You can only do so much. Listen to your own thoughts. People will give you advice. Not always the right advice. Says, uh, and again, just weigh it up and just know what you want to do because some stages that there's nothing going to the last stage, of basically taking your own life or self-harming and things like that. The only person you're really affecting yourself, you're affecting your family, you're affecting your friends. But sometimes you maybe feel that way. Reach out. It's important. It is, and as from my own journey, it was basically just knowing, having the blessings of people there. But sometimes you don't realize it that people are offering you that advice. Uh, Listen. Sometimes you just want to say, right, leave me alone, which is fine because we all have that what I call that circle of emotions where you basically angry with yourself, angry with the world, and before you come back round it again, you start to turn around and go, well, I've been so long in that circle, have I missed the opportunity? No, you haven't. Just your expectations from 10 years ago to now could change, and your expectations, what you're looking for. And that goes into financial situations and the family situations. But again, it's just a case of brush yourself down. And my, and it's a difficult one to say because I'm saying this in front of a screen. It's just based on my own experience. It's just try, at least try. At least you can turn around and say, well, try. Didn't work out. And for myself, basically, once one of the things I wanted to do when I left the fire service, said I was basically blessed by the early 50s. I'm saying not in the early 1950s, but in the early age of 50s, was I always wanted then to try within the charity sector. And I turn around. One of the things which you don't realise if you have the opportunity, and this is where people who are retired, 60, 65 plus, there's a life out there with reference to in the volunteering sector.
Yeah.
It's just a thing today, an event today, and it was basically people. There's a because volunteering and going into that type of sector, you're getting company, you're helping, you're contributing, you can share, and the world will start to open up. The light will start to see. Doesn't take away the pain. The pain will always be there from your mind and your things, but it softens it. It softens you because when you're hurting and you feel a grudge or you feel annoyed about something, the only person that you're hurting is yourself. Says, and it's not about forgetting. You can never forget. Says, it's about just learning to live. And if you can more than you can forgive and let things basically go. And again, it's not about how do you put it? Say it literally is not about forgetting. Because your mind, your heart has maybe say one thing, but it's about not hurting yourself anymore. And if you can lessen that burden on yourself, either by talking to somebody, either by going to a church community group, it doesn't matter. Just basically, it doesn't. This is a glove. It's not a one fit all glove. It's not a recipe that will produce a magic cake. It will produce something which is still eatable, but it will do for yourself. And again, it's just from my point of view, I was basically then blessed from a point of view. Then once I'd done that, to use any of the skills I have, knowledge to try and do some. But the stuff I do, I just can't do. There's just stuff I can't do, and it's one of them things. Turn around and say to somebody, "Can you give me a hand?" Okay, what's the worst you can do? No. Then you ask somebody else. So if you don't have that skill, people usually say we call a tradesperson. Well, that's fine. Says, but it could be a trade person could be a friend who's a bit more knowledge, and he just wants to be there to support you. Because majority of people don't want to see somebody else hurt. They don't want to see it,
right.
but they're frightened maybe sometimes to ask something because of the reaction that you could have done or said something 2 years ago to scare them off. Like, stay out of my life. I don't want to know you. I can do it myself. So they maybe don't want to do it again, but encourage them or ask them again and again. And from my point of view, I've got this stage now. You're never too late to apologise to something. says, I'm sorry, bad place. Says, I'm sorry. I says, just, and it's about, again, men have an ego. We do have an ego. We don't like to fail. We always like to succeed, but it's not always possible. And sometimes we do fall, we do come off. Says, there's many a time I've broken a bone, I fell basically the start of the year, broke my pelvis in 3 places. Says, but again, you can lie there, or you can turn around and say, let's get up. Says, yeah, you have, for a while you have to lie in the pain, but then you turn around and go, right.
Broken pelvis, you absolutely do.
Then basically I just felt blessed at the end of it and just turned around and said, I need to get up. I was pain and suffering and things like that. But he just turned around and said, look, let's do it. Let's basically try it, and just make the effort where you can. And says, and talk to somebody, no matter what. There's plenty of phone numbers out there. Says so where I was, again, feel blessed of the job I had at the start. So there's I feel the journey was good. Had a great, still, if somebody said, do you miss your past careers? Yes, I do in one way, because you're missing your colleagues, and you're missing I call it the banter, says, and the humour goes with it. Says some not printable, but you do that. But the other thing to it, people have there's always a, how do you put it? There's like a life cycle. There is a, that was a time. That was a time I wouldn't want to repeat. I wouldn't want to put the clock back, but it was a learning experience. Got a lot out of it. But now the time now is what I'm doing now. The journey was, again, some of it was accidental from a point of view going into the charity sector. Yeah, I always liked to have done that. But then going into the volunteering sector, and from volunteering and taking stuff on, that was just by accident. I was probably in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the Antrim Community Support was one of them ones where I had your meetings and had all the, I call the ladies groups. And then somebody turns around and says, I don't know if you were there, I think you might have been there. So and I was told, we need a men's group. And when you're put on the spot, you go, and you get, and this is the whole thing. You so easily to bury your head and say, it's not for me. And I went, okay, let's give it a try. What's the worst could happen? And especially,
Somebody turns up.
nobody turns
Somebody
up.
turns up. That's the worst. You know?
Yeah. And then basically I've got a cup of tea and I've bought the buns myself and just sit and eat the buns. So, so that's the worst can happen. Now this, again, it's one of them things, and when you got dribs and drabs and coming in through the doors, and where I am now, that like 2.5 years on, anything from 12 to 14 guys every week meeting up, and you're going from every background. So it is just literally a mixture. If you put your hand into pick a mix and brought out a handful of sweets, it's the same thing. It literally is every mixture, every ability, every age. But one thing they have in common, they want to be there.
Yeah.
They want to be part of something. They want to be a family. They want to be basically contribute and thought about. They want to be able to say what they want within reason. They want to be just, again, not be judgmental, and just, again, supporting. And the big thing on when you start forming friendships and joining clubs and volunteering and taking that one step out, there's a natural progression sometimes. Because not everybody can be a leader. Some people just want to serve. Some people
Yep.
just want to sit in the background, just want to be part of it, just want to absorb it. But again, it's about involving everybody. But it's just being there. It starts playing out now when you've got basically, but most people's got mobile phones. So other people don't maybe not use them, but most people have mobile phones. If you form part of groups, you have basically go to a certain location to meet up, and sometimes you may have a tendency to put obstacles in front of yourself. I'm
Yeah.
not going to go. The weather's bad. I don't feel like going. But lift the phone or lift some type of communication, whatever way it is, speak to somebody. You will get a reaction back once you come into a group of any type of group. That's it. And again, I'm a great one. I don't have a lot of expectations. I don't go basically, this is what I want out of it. I go with a viewpoint. I'm enjoying it. I can have a smile. It's rewarding. And at the end of the day, do I still have my dreams? From good for future dreams? Do I still have my bad dreams? Absolutely. Do I still certain sense from scenarios I've dealt with previously? Smell certain things which are trigger factors. I still see things in children who basically tragically lost their lives, and you maybe can't recognize, you can't see the faces, but maybe by something in the war around the wrist, could be a bracelet or something like that. So things like that still trigger me. You look at your own aunts and, or say, your own nieces and nephews, or your own children, and or your grandchildren, if you're blessed that way, and you see stuff, and you're looking at that, and you're going, and then if something just triggers, and you have that moment of thought, it's devastating. It's hurtful. It's It's like I always call it, it's like the old heartburn, that type of sour water up and down the throat. Sometimes a day you hold the hand up, we go into that wee bit of more deeper depression, but it's about trying to click that switch and just basically reach out and have somebody to share with. It's a benefit, it says. And a lot of times, if you don't can't do that within your own household, is reach out to clubs, organisations. I'm not a professional person. All I do is have a heart for what I do. All I do is live my own experiences and basically just want to be part of a community. I'm not a talented, as you probably know, talker as such,
You're very
uh,
talented.
but I have the heart to put a kettle on. I have the heart to basically give a bit of food out. I have the heart to basically, somebody says, "Will you give us a hand?" Yeah, I'll give them a hand. Just make the opportunity. I have a heart to look after the grandchildren or something like that. Yeah, because I want to do it.
Yeah.
Because, and I think that's just built up over years of having to defend within my own environment, having to basically try and achieve something. And again, that's what I could be talking through my hat. I'm just talking through what I feel. So I've been let down before by organisations, by individuals, by groups. The person I'm hurting is myself by keeping myself aloof of everything else. Because once you start sitting there in that environment, your mind starts to take its own world. Says it starts to travel. There's nothing as nice as a bit of quietness sometimes,
Mm.
but there's nothing as cheerful as hearing a group of individuals laughing uncontrollably from a scenario, and it could be the silliest of thing. Says where you've got a
It
bit of
usually is.
laughter, bit of crack, and just time to share. Uh, and again, there's no magic formula. It says this most simplest things from a point of view of basically somebody eating your biscuit or somebody eating your bun. Says, and go back to where I am now. So literally started the group, and the group was basically, and I went in, and unlike unlike my wife who has a plan for everything, my plan was I don't have a plan. So my plan for the men was, right, what are we doing? And somebody came to say, what's the agenda? There is none. What are we doing? Don't know. All right, to sign up for anything? No. And I says, we'll make our own plan. And that's where it started. And the everybody has all their fancy names. Ours is the Two Sausage, Two Egg Club because we like fries. We like to eat. We like a bun. We have guys who basically uh, I shouldn't be saying this, but there is a few guys who maybe diabetic, things like that, but they don't eat beforehand or something like that, so they can have their chocolate biscuits on that day because they want to be part of the group. They
Yeah.
want to share. Uh, they follow all health guidance, but again, they basically do without something that morning to have something that afternoon, and that's
Yeah.
about being part of the group. And I can tell you stories about just literally where they communicate with each other, they talk to each other outside the group. They sometimes small groups then branch off and meet up with each other, and that's what you call family.
Yeah.
You have two
Absolutely.
kids do their own thing. Two kids want to do that. Great. Uh, and but the good thing about it is that you get the messages. If somebody's going into hospital, maybe somebody needs a wee lift, things like that. They do that, or somebody needs transport to come to the group. Somebody then another person in the group will then go and pick them up. If I'm not there, and but again, not giving anything away, but one of the things, one of the guys, and again, he brings him this guide dog, and one of the main thing from I don't want to give his name away as such, but everybody will know him locally. He says one of the key things that he always says, he comes to the group and he's treated as him,
Yeah.
not as disability. The dog is part of the group. Says he's treated as what he should be treated as, a person with an individual with a need from a point of view of his ability, but nothing else. He
Yeah.
contributes, he talks, he gives a stick as good as that, and that's with every person in the group. Every person in the group has including myself, we have our own issues, but they come to the group and everybody sitting in that group around that table is the same. We go out outings and say we were blessed. Basically, we were taken to the Psalm. So there's a bunch of us all went to the Psalm recently. But the benefit of that, it's very hard to get positivity when you're seeing the atrocities over 100 years ago. See the senseless death of young ones serving a country or a flag. But again, they laid down their life for us so that we can basically be here now. But on the back of that, taking a bunch of guys basically to share that with, to basically spend moments of quietness and reflect, to go to memorials and graveyards and battlefields and stand in quietness and prayer and actually learn together, and that impact on that, and even just sitting around in the evening sharing a dinner with each other and talking about the experience of the day, then coming back and sharing the same experiences with their families. It has a massive impact from basically bonding as a group of guys, but also basically what you feel and what you've seen and the sheer scale of that. So doing things like that is fantastic. Doing things like even just, I say, going for fry together, sitting around a table and sharing. Where the 2 sausage, 2 egg came from was one of our guys who is says he likes his food, and he always basically has a large fry, and he always asks for 2 sausages and 2 eggs extra. Yes. And on the outcome of that, one day, the person who was serving him got confused, thought he just wanted 2 sausages, 2 eggs. So rather than the large fries with the addition of 2 sausages, 2 eggs, he got just 2 sausages, 2 eggs.
Oops.
In the middle of a restaurant. And I can tell you now, it was hilarious. Yeah, because again, he was basically about to maybe give off, but then 12 other guys just burst out laughing and just took the, just basically just started to laugh at him and keeping him going and things like that. And then from then, we are the 2 sausage, 2 egg club. And it just has stuck. And it just actually sums up guys. It just sums up guys from a point of view who want to come together, do what they want to do, be part of it, and actually have a bit of crack. So,
I think the thing for me, one of the things you didn't mention that I know you do is that if somebody is reaching out and has never been to the club, you or one of the other guys will meet with them for a cup of coffee first of all, just so that when they come to the group, they know a face, they know a person, which I think is lovely, because it can be hard enough to lift the phone and ask, but to go into a room where you don't know anybody and you know that the people already know each other can be really, really difficult. So somebody just meeting you for a cup of coffee so that you can have a face that you know when you're walking in, I think is fabulous. And it takes a level of pressure off.
Yeah, that basically came right from the start, where we basically had the open door at the start. And then when they start the group, because it's very difficult when you've got maybe a bunch of guys already jailed as such. But they will accept everybody and anybody. But then it's just we normally do, if somebody rang up and I wasn't there to take the call, it would be, says, can you make a phone call? So I make a phone call. Now sometimes after the phone call, the person doesn't turn up, but it doesn't matter. The same way that
you've done your bit.
Yeah,
you haven't. The onus is not always on them just to turn up to the group. You've put that extra bit in to ease their way into the group.
Meet up, have a cup of coffee, go for a dander, or just a conversation. It depends on what they want, and then just come. And if it doesn't suit, give me a wee tinkle next month. You've got my number, and I normally just say, just keep my number. And it says it's my own number. I says, just ring me direct or email direct, whatever suits you. And then normally then we just basically meet up and guys come. And the same way because we have the group set up and we all have what we'll call the WhatsApp group. If guys turn around and says their personal circumstances changes, or they have to work away, or something changes, they're still part of the group for a few months. But if there's no need to be in the group, I usually just ring them up, have a wee chat, or meet them. It says, "Sure, come off the WhatsApp group for now, and then give me a tinkle when you want to come back."
Yeah.
But if they still need the support, the chances when I say I would do that, that could be 6 months, 7 months down the line,
Yeah.
ensuring that they're okay. But
Yeah.
sometimes then they are moving on to another group, or they're moving on with their lives to something else, and that is fantastic. The same
Yeah.
way, if
Absolutely.
professional people too would ring us up and said, "We've got somebody here, would you have a chat with them?" And it's just a chat,
Yeah.
just to share, and it's just maybe a chat like we're doing now. We just basically have
Yeah.
a quick chat, and even just from a point of view, and it's amazing when you've got a set of ears to listen to, that you can basically
Hmm.
just sit there and talk. Done that quite a few times, and that's only from a point of view of just I would certain times in life I would just like to be heard myself.
Yep.
You just want to be
Absolutely.
heard.
Absolutely.
And again, the same thing applies. So, from a point of view of the group, so that's normally the introductions, and normally sometimes I will go in and just bring them in myself too. Or even one of the guys would sometimes went and pick people up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're coming in,
No, 'cause
they know two people.
yeah.
So it's-
And it's lovely that it's such a mixed group as well, because a lot of times people naturally, we just do, all people do, we go towards our own people, so
yeah,
you might have joined an ex-fire service club, or you
yeah,
might have, but it's lovely that you said all backgrounds and everybody feels safe. And that for us in Northern Ireland is a fabulous thing, a fabulous achievement, to make a mixed group that feels safe. But the other thing you said about that I find it's one that I talk about regularly with my clients is forgiveness. And particularly in Northern Ireland, we have this issue that no, I can't forgive. And I think the difficulty is that people think forgiveness is letting someone else off the hook. And it's not. For me, forgiveness is about letting me off the hook. And that's why I agree with you. We don't forget. It's the forgetting that lets somebody off the hook. But when we remember whatever it is, but we can forgive it, we we set ourselves free. I think hatred was it Shakespeare? I'm maybe misquoting, but you drink the poison and expecting the other person to die.
yeah, yeah,
And it eats you alive. Whereas when you can not forget it, but forgive it, then it calms your nervous system down. So I love that you're doing that too. So yes, the last three questions then were entirely up to you which one of the three you want to answer. Was your favorite book, which you say I would have a difficulty with that because I have all sorts of books that I love. Your favorite phrase, or what you would tell your younger self.
right. The favorite book, right? Uh, well, again, I was hopefully I have a strong faith. As my favorite book, the one I would read most days, would be the Bible, uh, in hand, or basically audible. So again, when the eyes get tired and things like that, sometimes I just need things, and I would listen to some music as well. So that basically stands on its own for me. Uh, but another book which has impacted me quite a while. And again, it's probably there was a film done. It was a book called The Shack.
Shack.
Yeah, and again, it was just one of
Oh, I
them.
know the Shack. Yes, I think it was your wife told me about the Shack, and I went
Yeah,
away and read it, and it was that. Yeah, it's a
yeah,
stunning book.
stunning book. The film
Yeah,
there's a film about it too. It doesn't the same impact, but reading that, because it's about loss, and again, it is okay. It's a again, it's a personal journey, and it's everybody's journey how they feel about it, losing a child, and the tragic circumstances, and then the basic around that, and meeting basically God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit, and the impact that. But it was the way it was told. It's
yeah,
told in a very personal
yeah,
way, which somebody else could relate who's went through atrocities or loss. And from that, reading that, and again, just basically going through that and relating to it. And again, when you read it the second time or the third time, you will get something else out of it. And that's me personally.
Yeah.
So it just from a point of view, I can relate to the names, what way they call the Lord in this one, and what way they call say the Holy Spirit. So it's
Spirit.
different ways of things, but it's very impactful. And I do basically, I'm one of these ones. I read a lot of anorak stuff too. But again, that's the one where I can basically sit, reflect, and listen. And
Yeah.
sometimes your mind goes that way. Have a good cry. There's
Yeah.
no shame having a good cry. So there's
No, absolutely not.
a lot of phrases. I always pick up phrases. Somebody says something, says, "Oh, I'll do that." But then what happens? I end up forgetting the phrase. If I don't write something down, I forget about the phrase. But the one always for me is basically, always for myself is basically, and I said at the start, it literally is. Age is not an obstacle. My ability is not an obstacle.
Yeah.
So it's about my mindset. And again, going from a point of view if basically can't do what I done 30 years ago. I can't do what I done 35 years ago. I can't run that marathons which I used to run. The knees aren't there. I can't do that world record ladder climb with my other colleagues. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But what I can do, I can try. Says, and there's certain things. It's like everything in life. There's certain things you need to just pass over, and this is
Yeah. Yeah.
where I take the things. There's certain things I can't do, and for the what I call the really jolly mixture sweets, pick a mix sweets of the guys. There's always somebody who has knowledge of, and this is the
Yeah.
benefit of guys. There's always somebody has that maybe the drilled you can borrow to do it. There's always somebody who can basically tell you there's a YouTube link to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where the benefits comes out, and that's why I turn around and said, even though, and again, from the mixture of guys who have basically, and there is guys there who basically had very high powered professional jobs, tradespersons, things like that. There is ones basically cooks and things like that. So there's a mixture, but they come together. It's like, as I said, don't want to go on, but this is dolly mixture of sweets. You put your hand in, bring them all in the bag, but you will eat them all. So,
Yeah.
it just literally is very, very good to be part of. And it's
Yeah.
not, can I say to you, it's not me, it's the guys. They're the
Yeah.
ones who make the groups because they're the ones can come in and go, but they're the ones who still want to reoccurringly come and they want to be part of it and says, and they turn around and says, right, where are we going? So next Monday, where basically they're getting the train down because we've lost our minibus, which we would have had the chance I would have driven the minibus. We've lost that, so we're stuck for transport. But again, they're getting the train down together, which is actually fantastic. Says so they get the train down to do an open up top bus tour of Belfast. Then they go around the
Yeah.
Christmas. Then they go around the Christmas market. But
Brilliant.
they are coming down as a group themselves,
Great.
and I'm meeting
Very
them there.
good. Yeah.
So that tells me if something happened to me tomorrow or I can't do it, these guys will
Now the
still
group will go
want
on.
to
Yeah.
meet. And there's guys in there need support. There's guys need help from every whether it's physically, mentally, no matter what. It says we're all in the same boat. We all need
Yeah.
that arm round that support, but they are coming down themselves. I'm just feeling sorry for Belfast. So because it will be like one of these carnival floats coming around the corner. You will hear them first.
Before you see them.
Yes. So it's like when you see one of these party
Very good.
buses and you go,
Yeah.
what is that noise? So these making that noise without the loudspeakers. So
Yeah.
but that's where
For you and your crew.
the guys can enjoy it.
Brilliant. Stephen, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Um, I hope somebody has got something out of this in that it, it is difficult to reach out. It is, we know that. But there are ways and there are steps and there are people that will help them and will even reach in and bring them out. And if it encourages one more man to go and join whatever men's group that there are near them, because I know there's the men's sheds and there's
Yeah.
not all my listeners would come from Antrim. So there's is it Andy's place?
Yeah.
the call as well, or the men's group over in England
Yeah.
and stuff. So there are plenty of places that the men can go, and it is difficult to reach out, but hopefully a lot of them have a Stephen who will meet them for a cup of coffee and ease that transition into the group. So I
Mhm.
really, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah. Just one before you go. Just think
Yep.
of a triangle. If you're the point of the triangle and you can help two, them two could help four.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
and that before you realize it, you've got the ship on all three sides.
Yeah.
And if that one good conversation to anybody, or one or somebody reaches out and gets that one bit of communications, that will make a difference.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
All
Take care
right.
now.